I'm Jim Rohn, and if you've loved someone with a dismissive avoidant attachment style, you know how painful the silence can be. You find yourself replaying memories, analyzing their actions, convincing yourself that if they felt even a fraction of what you felt, they would reach out. But all you're met with is distance. And it's heartbreaking. Here's a surprising truth. Avoidants do think about you. They do feel your absence. They wrestle internally with longing, with the memories of connection. But instead of moving closer, they often retreat even further. It's not because you didn't matter. It's because emotional closeness, the very thing they crave deep down, feels threatening to their sense of independence. Today, we're diving into a hidden reality that very few people talk about, the fear of missing out that avoidants experience after a breakup, and why that fear often keeps them frozen in place rather than pulling them back toward you. I'll help you understand their silent struggles without making excuses for their behavior. And more importantly, I'll show you how to shift your focus from decoding their mind to reclaiming your peace. If you've ever felt trapped between hope and heartbreak, if you're tired of the emotional guessing games, you're in the right place. In this video, you'll learn how to see their silence for what it really is, and how to respond from a place of strength, dignity, and self-worth. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos packed with grounded, emotionally intelligent insights. Healing isn't just about understanding them, it's about coming home to yourself. And that journey starts right here, right now. The first thing you need to understand is that avoidants don't just suppress negative emotions, they suppress everything. Joy, sadness, affection, guilt, it all gets pushed deep below the surface. But suppression doesn't mean forgetting. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's gone. I remember once, during a difficult time in a past relationship, my partner said to me, "It's like you build a wall and pretend nothing's happening on the other side." And she was right. That's exactly what I was doing, shutting down emotionally to avoid the discomfort of vulnerability. It wasn't that I didn't care. It was that facing all those messy, intense feelings felt overwhelming. And at the time, disappearing behind emotional walls felt safer than dealing with the truth. When avoidance goes silent after conflict or separation, it doesn't mean they aren't thinking about you or the relationship. It simply means they don't want to engage emotionally, not yet. They don't want to step into difficult conversations. They don't want to admit fault. And most of all, they don't want to lose their fragile sense of emotional control. Research even shows that people with avoidant attachment styles tend to process their feelings privately, if at all, a reflection of the emotional lessons they internalized early on. Messages like "don't cry, stay strong, don't be too emotional." These were taught to them as survival tools, and now, unconsciously, they replay those same patterns in their adult relationships. This is why the real fear of missing out, FOMO for an avoidant, often strikes when they see you growing, healing, and moving forward without them. I remember a past breakup where, even though I intellectually knew ending the relationship was the right choice, seeing my ex genuinely happy, thriving without me, hit hard. Not because I stopped believing we needed to separate, but because it shattered the negative narrative I had created about her, about us. Seeing her light up without me forced me to face an uncomfortable truth. Maybe I wasn't the right partner for her growth. Maybe I wasn't the safe place she deserved. And that realization was painful. This is why when you focus on genuinely growing, not pretending, not manipulating, not posting just to make them jealous, but truly building your own happiness and stability, it creates a powerful shift. It's not about winning them back. It's about winning yourself back, finding the internal resources and strength that make you feel grounded, fulfilled, and secure with or without them. And when the avoidant sees a real difference between the relationship they left behind, the relationship they justified leaving, and the person you're becoming now, that's when a true fear of missing out starts to surface. It's when they realize, maybe too late, that what they walked away from wasn't the problem. It was the parts of themselves they weren't ready to confront. So remember, Your growth isn't a strategy to get them back. It's your birthright. It's how you honor your own self-worth and create the kind of life and love that feels safe, expansive, and deeply fulfilling. No pretending, no chasing, just stepping fully into the person you were always meant to be. Another important dynamic to understand is the feeling of nostalgia and how it plays into the avoidance emotional process after a breakup. When we are no longer with someone, and when all that's left of the relationship are scattered memories, we naturally tend to idealize those memories. We forget the heavy parts, we soften the edges of the conflicts, and even the painful moments lose their intensity over time. This effect is even stronger for avoidance because, for them, the negative experiences in a relationship are often tied to emotional closeness, the demands of commitment, intimacy, and vulnerability. Once the relationship ends, those stressors are mechanically stripped away. What remains in their mind is mostly the good, the comfort, the affection, the lighter moments, making the past relationship seem far more appealing than it might have felt when they were actually in it. This is why it's so important to understand when you are growing, building your confidence, and showing the world that you are stepping into your strength. The avoidant partner does feel something. They begin to reflect. They start to sit with the realization that they had something real, someone good, someone caring, and that they were the one who pushed it away. They don't feel this overnight, but slowly as their new solitude sets in, they begin idolizing what you had together, mourning not only you but the version of themselves they lost access to when they pulled away. Another factor at play is a well-known cognitive bias called the scarcity effect. When something feels unavailable, when it's no longer easily within reach, it naturally becomes more desirable. The moment they sense the door closing, the moment they feel you genuinely moving forward, their perception changes. Suddenly, what they took for granted seems rare, precious, and this can trigger a deep emotional reaction. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't win this breakup after all. Maybe I'm not as fine alone as I told myself I would be. This realization can bring them face to face with feelings they've long suppressed: regret, vulnerability, even a quiet acknowledgement of failure. Because whether they fully admit it or not, ending a relationship with someone who genuinely loved and supported them, someone who showed up even when things got hard, is, in many ways, a personal failure. In the early stages after the breakup, avoidants often externalize blame, convincing themselves the problem was you, the relationship, or life circumstances. But over time, when you detach, when you no longer feed into their narrative by chasing or pleading, they are left alone with the truth of their own decisions. This process takes time, it requires patience, and it demands that you stay grounded in your own emotional growth rather than rushing to fix, to chase, or to rescue them from their own discomfort. Stay with me until the end of the video because soon I'll walk you through exactly why allowing this natural unfolding without interference is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself and for your future relationship. Their silence, at its core, is a defense mechanism. When you don't know how to handle something emotionally overwhelming, when the very idea of vulnerability feels threatening, what do you do if you're avoidant? You shut down. You go quiet. You pull away. Silence becomes a way to avoid the uncomfortable conversations, the difficult self-reflection, the admission that maybe you were wrong or that you're struggling. So even if they are feeling the pull of nostalgia, even if they are experiencing fear of missing out as they see you growing and moving forward, they can still stay silent. Not because they don't think about you, but because fear holds them back. Fear that they won't have the right words, fear that they'll be asked to show up in ways they don't feel ready for. Fear that reconnecting means facing emotions they've spent a lifetime running from. That's why sometimes they choose silence, even when they miss you. And that's why, if you've ended a relationship with a dismissive avoidant, and you still feel there's something unfinished between you, it's important to honor a period of true no contact. Create the space for everything we've talked about here, for reflection, for growth, for emotional realignment. But after a certain time, if you still feel called to, it can be powerful to make a gentle first move, not to beg for reconciliation, but to quietly open the door to reconnection. Not by chasing, not by demanding, simply by extending a low-pressure opportunity for conversation to see if something new can emerge. That's the approach I work through with clients, whether it's building emotional safety through structured coaching or more hands-on support like WhatsApp guidance. The goal is never just to get back together. It's to build the right foundation, to create an environment where the avoidant can lower their defenses, realize what they've truly lost, and meet you. So right now, the real focus, the place where you should be putting all your energy, is not on whether they still care about you. It's not about reading into their silences or their subtle signals. The only thing that truly matters now is your growth. The only thing you can actually control is yourself, your choices, your healing, your daily actions. All the emotional patterns we've talked about, the fear of missing out, the idealizing of memories, the scarcity effect, they might be happening in them, but you can't rely on that. What you can rely on is the work you're doing to build your happiness, your self-confidence, and your secure attachment. And here's the irony. By focusing fully on yourself, you naturally maximize the possibility of them seeing you differently. But that can't be your goal. Healing isn't a strategy to win someone back. Healing is what you owe to yourself, no matter what happens. And no, there are no guarantees. There never are. No matter how much you grow, no matter how radiant you become, the decision to return, and more importantly, to show up differently, has to come from them, not from your efforts. So today, your job is simple but powerful. Focus on the small daily actions that strengthen you. Maybe that means reaching out to your support system. Maybe it means starting therapy. Maybe it's pouring energy into projects or hobbies that light you up. Look at every area of your life where you can create a sense of alignment, where you feel like you are living in a way that truly reflects who you are and who you want to become. Because the truth is, relationships, especially ones with insecure dynamics, can often make us lose parts of ourselves. We bend, we shrink, we shapeshift to keep the connection alive, and sometimes we don't even realize how much we've abandoned ourselves until the relationship ends. Now that you have space, now that you're standing on your own again, you have an extraordinary opportunity to ask yourself, what do I need? What kind of relationship am I truly worthy of? Who do I want to attract next? Not just by chance, but by the energy I embody. And yes, it's okay if you still have feelings for your ex. It's okay to miss them, to care. But you must also stay aware. Loving someone who isn't choosing you, who isn't showing up with clarity and consistency, is a vulnerable place to stand. When you love someone whose actions you cannot control, you are carrying risk. That's reality. Not to scare you, but to keep you grounded. Loving is never the mistake. Abandoning yourself to chase love, that's the part we must learn to stop. As we come to the end of today's video, I want to remind you of the key truths we've uncovered. Healing after a relationship with an avoidant partner isn't about decoding their silence or chasing their attention. It's about recognizing that your self-worth is not up for negotiation. It's about reclaiming your emotional security, investing in your growth, and building a life that reflects your deepest values, with or without them. We talked about the silent emotional struggles avoidants face, the way nostalgia and scarcity can shift their perspective, and why your greatest power lies not in waiting for them to change, but in choosing yourself. True healing comes when you realize that loving someone doesn't mean abandoning your own needs. I want to thank you sincerely for being here, for staying until the end, and for showing up for yourself in this process. Healing isn't linear, and it isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. If today's video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share your experience or what stood out most to you in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else who needs to hear it. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. I'll continue to share grounded, emotionally intelligent insights to help you grow stronger, love wiser, and step more fully into the life and love you deserve. Remember, your next chapter isn't waiting for someone else's permission. It's waiting for you to say yes to yourself.